welcome to another portion of this Land Rover 101, which we're on about, on with I should say. My last video I posted, I said we was going to probably start on making the body. So we was cleaning, me and my son started to clean off the sound deadening material was on these wheel boxes. And once we started getting it off, I started noticing that there was some peppering in the actual aluminium panel in the wheel boxes at the bottom here. So we did a bit of further investigation and found that they corroded quite badly, and just this area. So if you can see here where we've put in a new piece of material, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just clean out the rusted air, the corroded areas, and put a plug in and weld that around. So that's what we started to do, and then there was so many, it was like, I'm not going to mess around, but it would be hard to see, but the old fold has cracked and corroded heavily. You can see the corrosion there, and so it was like, I'm going to have to change this. Same with this was from the other side, heavily corroded, and it just broke off. So, and this was on both sides, each wheel box exactly the same place, just in this area, which is just probably about 10 inches. So that was that. So we was having to fix that. Now we started to take this reinforcing stuff off the top of the wheel boxes, because I thought that they were just all riveted together, but they're not, they're spot welded. And I wasn't going to start taking the whole wheel box to repair this, so I've welded them in situ, which was a bit of a pain, especially with the old aluminium corrosion on there. We tried cutting it back to where it was good, but it still was a bit of a messing around. But we've managed to do that. But obviously we had to take the floor up, and when we took the floor up, the actual anchor mounts that go there, when we took those off, the bolts broke. And this is a strap that goes underneath the floor, which went through there like that. Well, when we lifted the floor up, we found that once the bolts were broken, we found that these plates, you can see the plates, these go underneath the actual panelling of the floor, and then the floor went on, and then that went on top of the floor, and obviously this was underneath. These were heavily corroded, as you can see. Right. So it was the case, we can't do any of the body work, we're going to have to, assess and get this fixed. So we've made some more. So I got some 2mm plate, measured it all, welded, drilled, and so that will go in. Made some new straps as well with the captive nuts, so that they can be all bolted together. So that's where we are with that. So we did those, and then we found a hole on top of the wheel box in the offside front corner of the wheel box, which we'll go and have a quick look at that, and we'll also have a quick look just in the wheel box and show you the welding where we've come through, and so we got a good penetration. So the whole thing was a butt weld, tigged obviously, to put it all back together. So it's not a bad repair, and it saved us second wheel box, although it was quite awkward welding it up. But we'll go over here and just have a look at this welding, what I've done here, and then we'll go on the wheel box. So plate on the top. There were some mounting points, like I said, here, the others at the other end, and two at the front of the box in the middle. If you can see the weld, there was some places where I was chasing it, especially there. I chased it a little bit, and there were some bits of rubbish coming through. But generally it welded quite okay. I did find though that this aluminium, what they've made this out, I don't know what grade this is, but it seems to weld slightly differently. I don't know what it is, but there's something about the alloy that they use on these bodies that's different from the normal aluminium, which you weld up. you can tell just where it welds, but it was quite happy to weld. In fact, I did one of the side rail on the near side. Something had been dropped on it, bent it, and I tried straightening it out and it wouldn't straight out, so I cut it and re-welded it, welded it up, and it was the same. It welded really quite differently, but there wasn't an issue with it welding. It's just the way the alloy was reacting as it was pulling up. But yeah, so same there. I'm going to planish that a little bit, fettle it up, planish it, sand it, and then it'll just make it pretty. That's all the whole reason why I'm doing that. And I'll do the same on the underside as well. I'll just get the sander on, fettle it up, and it just makes it pretty, and that's that. So, wheel box. So hopefully you can see in here, what I'll show you is the damage that was done. This area here, this is corroded. There's hardly any damage here at all. But you get to this centre section here, and there's quite a bit, but it's not holed. So I decided not to take this piece out, especially these two reinforcing items that's in there. But it's still solid, but it has taken quite a bit out of it. So I thought I'd leave that, it didn't need doing. And then this piece here, so you can see where I've just gone over the penetration. There's no material filler being put in here. This is just what's come through, and I've just gone over it just to stop it cracking. That's the only purpose I went over that. Just with a floor on and it flexing maybe with stuff or people going into it, it just wasn't worth leaving it. So I just went over it to make sure that it wouldn't crack. So that's what we've got there, and it's the same at the other side. Other than that, they're perfectly okay, so I'll be putting the floor back in and everything. So we'll look now at the gearbox cover and what I've done there and the reasons what I've done that for. So what we've got here with this gearbox cover and this engine cover with the things that we've been working on after we've been doing the bed and all the bits associated with it. I decided to fit this lot and see how this was going together. The first issues that we found with the gearbox cover was this piece of angle here, which is spot welded to this panel here, which obviously is the decking. The spot welding was coming apart. So in a number of areas, we re-riveted it in places. So I just drilled a hole, put an on rivet and then just planished them flat, and obviously countersunk them as well. Just to pull all this back together, because there's no way I was going to be able to spot weld this as dirty as it is. So that was the best repair I could come, which has done the job. Once I'd done that, then it was coming to fit in this. Now what I found was, because this gear selector rod here is modified, as I've discussed in some previous videos, and when I fastened this down, I found that it was actually catching here in this area here. So I've cut this out, and then I made a new panel to go in. So I made this panel to go in. Also, what I'd done was, the top here, there was a panel that was fastened onto here which looked quite ropey, and it was an individual part as well. So there's this bit, the piece that went on here, and then the gearbox, the engine cover, and I thought I'm doing away with all that. So I got a piece of aluminium from one of the drop sides, because the drop sides were wrecked really, they were quite rusted, and I'm not going to reuse them. So I took a piece of aluminium plate off, reuse what you can, and I fashioned it to this, and it's all fastened to this, so the whole piece is now one piece. So now the gear selector rod clears. The only thing I found was, when I come over into reverse, so when I bring it over past its lock, it's just slightly touching on this piece of angle here, but it's only minor. But I am going to just grind that out a little bit just so it clears, because it doesn't look that good. And I think I'm just getting a little catch. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but there's a little bit of paint off here and it's just slightly touching there. So I might just planish that a little bit, just to put a little bit of a knock in there just to help clear it. But other than that, that's okay now. So let me just put this on. So that's it on there like so. And then the engine cover. Somebody made this up and it's made out of pieces. It's not the world's best engine cover, but I think with what they've obviously had to play with to make it, it's not turned out, I suppose, that bad. But it's not brilliant. It didn't fit right well at all. As for instance, the gear selector hole here, when I put it on, it's fouling on the gear selector. So I have no idea how they managed to get this to work. It doesn't fit up at the front on the panel in front of the radiator, this section here. So I've taken this piece off and I'm making a new piece for that. The side, the pieces here where this sits over, I made a new one here because I'd moved the seat back. But this side here, it's already in. You could put your hand in between it, and that was just a poor fit. So there's quite a bit of modification to go back into this to make this right. So all the bolts, they're all going to be taken out. I will be cutting it, butting it together, and then TIG welding it all back up so it'll be one piece. Yes, it's a lot of work for an engine cover, and why don't I just use a new piece of ally sheet? But the thing is, utilise what I've got. It keeps the cost down. Even though it's a bit of time and expense with TIG, but it's ultimately, you know, it just speeds things up a little bit and it saves a bit of cost. So anyway, so what I've been doing, making some new bits. So these were the parts that came off here. So they went in so like that. That's it. They went in there like that. And that on there like that. So they had to go. One, because they look bad, and second, they didn't fit. So my son's been working on making a new fit piece to go in there. So that's his template. This is his piece of steel he's playing with to put it together. This is the piece that I'm going to be fitting onto the front of here, because this is about an inch short from its panel where it mounts to there, and it's got some clips that pull the whole thing in place. So this will be going on like so, and it'll be infilled with all its bits and pieces to make it back up. Yes, it's a bit of a patchwork quilt, but it saves me having to spend a lot of time, like I say, a lot of expense, getting a sheet of aluminium just to make a fancy cover when I can utilise this and the pieces I've got. So, and the money I save with just that piece of ally sheet alone can go somewhere else. So yeah, this goes onto there, and you can see there how it's fouling somewhat. So I've got to sort that out. But that's where we are with this. So I'm getting this right, and then once these covers are done, I can then concentrate on getting the engine finished off, i.e. fluids. I need a new starter motor. The starter motor I've got, it's an original one, but it's so lazy. I don't know if it's actually a 24 volt one. This is actually a 12 volt vehicle. I was worried that it might be a 24 volt and they hadn't swapped the starter motor over. But it just does appear that the starter motor's lazy. So I need a new starter motor for it. So fluids, starter motor, and then exhaust. I've got to build the exhaust. And I'm going to get tubular runners for the heads. I think it's P38, I think it's P38 Range Rover. I'm not quite sure what number, I probably got that wrong. But early Range Rovers have a tubular exhaust. Now, I've done a bit of research, and they look to have the same disposition of bolt mounts and outlet positions. If not, I can still cut it and rejoin them all back together, but I'm going to make an exhaust for it, so that's to be done. So while I'm on with that, I've also been doing a CAD drawing for the body, so I've been on with that. So hopefully I'll have that done pretty soon, so you can see a better idea of what the actual body's going to look like when it's finished. That's where I'm aiming for, and because I've got a proper 3D scale model, I can actually make a bill of materials so that I've got a proper cutting list and all the angles and everything. I've got it all there, so there's no ad hoc, as it were, trying to piece this thing together, try and make it fit. Hopefully with the model, I should be able to have no problem in cutting my parts to length, angles and everything, and just piece it together, and it'll go together just like a nice jigsaw. And you'll be able to see what that looks like. I'm sorry I can't show you any more detail as such. We have been struggling somewhat trying to get these videos right, and that's one of the reasons why they've not been out, because they just keep falling apart as videos. They're either wobbling or they're too dark. It's just so we've been having a blurring as well. Quite a bit of blurring has been going on. So we're trying to make sure that these videos are right for you as well. So that's one of the reasons why we've not got anything on Land Rover, and same with my Jaguar I'm doing. Plus I've had my car in for MOT as well, so that was 2 weeks we're messing around trying to work on that in my time between working on my part-time job I have. So anyway, there is some stuff coming up, and hopefully we can get these videos rolling again, and hopefully we can keep your interest and everybody else's interest that hopefully will come on board and watch what we're doing, me and my son, with this specifically, and hopefully with Jag as well, those that have got on there, keep them interested, because that's the idea at YouTube channel, get some interest and see some kind of feedback what we're doing. So yeah, thanks for watching, and just keep watching, that's what I'd say, and you all take it steady, and hope that you're there on the next one when we put it in. So see you later, and cheers.